Good morning. Welcome, everyone. This is the More Than Consent panel, a panel on relationship and dating ethics. My name is Blaise Burbank. I'm a senior religious studies major and sociology minor, and I'm one of the Hackworth fellows on the campus ethics team. For my Hackworth project, I wanted to focus on relationship ethics because I believe that this is a topic that affects all people, but especially college students. In the age of dating apps, social media, and changing societal norms, the word relationship no longer has one commonly understood definition. For this panel, we will explore the meaning of relationships through perspectives on college dating culture, misconceptions about dating standards, and ethical approaches to relationship building. Today's event will be structured in 3 parts. First, we will have an introductory talk from Dr. Kieran Peterson-Iyer. Following her talk, we will have a panel discussion with Dr. Brown and Dr. Sullivan and Dr. Peterson-Iyer as well. After that, we will open the floor to audience questions. At any point during our talk, you can submit a question to the QR code on the screen behind me. All of the questions will be completely anonymous. Now, I would like to give a short introduction of each of our 3 speakers today. To start, I welcome Professor Peterson-Iyer. Dr. Peterson-Iyer received a Bachelor in Arts in Political Science from Stanford University, a Master of Divinity at the Graduate Theological Union, and a Master of Arts, Master of Philosophy, and Ph.D. in Ethics from Yale University. She is the author of, most recently, Reenvisioning Sexual Ethics, a Feminist Christian Account. Her research interests are focused on sexual ethics, digital ethics and embodiment, bioethics, labor ethics, and human trafficking. In her teaching and research, she uses ethical frameworks and concepts such as human personhood, human flourishing, justice, and agency as lenses to examine contemporary ethical topics. She currently teaches in the Religious Studies Department at Santa Clara. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Peterson-Iyer. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Kieran Sullivan. Dr. Sullivan received her Ph.D. from UCLA in 1997 and is currently a professor in the Psychology Department at Santa Clara University, where she teaches psychology of relationships, psychopathology, psychological assessment, and general psychology. She studies social support in intimate relationships and the use of online communication in dating relationships. She has published dozens of peer-reviewed articles and 2 edited books. She is also a recipient of the University Award for Sustained Excellence in Scholarship. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sullivan. Finally, I'd like to introduce Dr. Melissa Brown. Dr. Brown is a scholar of Black feminist thought, digital sociology, social movements, and sexual politics. Prior to arriving at SCU, Dr. Brown was a postdoctoral research fellow at the Clayman Institute for Gender Research at Stanford University. Previously, she has published her research on anti-racist and Black feminist social media activism in the journals Ethnic and Racial Studies and Sociology Compass. She currently maintains blackfeminisms.com as a public scholarly project that disseminates academic research and theory by and about Black women across the African diaspora. At Santa Clara, she teaches in the Communications Department. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Brown. Now, I'd like to welcome Dr. Peterson-Iyer for her introductory talk.
Thanks, Blaise. Is this on?
Very quietly.
Hello. Okay. Anyway, thank you for coming today, and a special thanks to Blaise and also to the Hackworth campus ethics team for putting together this panel. Blaise asked me to say just a few words. It's hard for me to say just a few words, but I will try to contextualize the panel and to lay the groundwork for the conversation that follows. So at first blush, whoops, what happened to our slide? How do I make it go back up? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. There it is. Okay. So at first blush, the subtitle of this panel, a panel on relationships and dating ethics, seems straightforward enough. So what are the values, the norms, the expectations that should guide us as we enter into close relationships, especially dating and romantic relationships? No one would dispute that those values have changed dramatically over the last century. So 100 years ago, roughly, what we now call dating, actually increasingly less commonly called dating, but what has been until recently called dating, then was generally referred to as calling or keeping company. And that was when a young man who found himself interested in a young woman, which was the only socially acceptable version of things, would generally be expected to initiate the interaction by visiting her supervised at her parents' home. So the cultural script of the times was that this form of courtship would be aimed ultimately at the probability of marriage, and that is a marriage sanctioned by families, if not formally arranged by them. But in the decades that followed, the familial context of dating began to wane, particularly as more and more people began to move out of their familial homes, often to attend college, not always. Indeed, in the 1960s and 70s, it can be said, broadly speaking, that the US grew more and more centered around the individual, rather than the family's input with respect to dating and relationships. By the end of the 20th century, the norm of individual consent had solidly replaced that of familial approval as the relational center point, especially in middle-class US households. For women in particular, and I want to emphasize this is a hard-won gain. Finally, women's consent could be seen to matter, culturally speaking, even if it was far too often disregarded in practice. Since that time, we've mostly been left with a cultural script of whatever people consent to must be legitimate. Dating apps, I think, amplify this turn to individual choice, since the choices on dating apps generally appear rather limitless. So you just keep ticking the box for what you want, and above all, you just keep swiping. Yet, and this may or may not be related, a recent Pew Research study revealed that nearly half of all Americans say that dating is harder today than it was 10 years ago. And women are much more likely to hold that view than men, 55% versus 39%, citing increased risk as the number one reason that dating has become harder. The same study revealed that most daters today say that their dating lives are not going well, and that it's difficult to find people to date. Which brings me to the phrase before the subtitle of this panel, more than consent. But why, in fact, should we be positing the need for more than consent? Doesn't this simply throw us back into the relational dark ages when consent was seen as secondary at best, especially for women and girls? In an important sense, the increased awareness around the need for consent as a baseline relational norm has arrived not a moment too soon. We've even moved from the no means no standard to the call for an enthusiastic yes. I want to be crystal clear. I consider this as a development of paramount importance. We must never go back to an era where women's sexual and relational agency is legally, culturally, and systemically denied. Consent, active, enthusiastic, ongoing, and robust consent is an imperative norm in the service of authentic sexual and relational agency. But I do think we need to ask ourselves whether consent on its own is enough. In other words, are there other practices and norms and ideals that should inform our approach to healthy dating and relationships? From my own point of view, I think that this is an important question, partly because we live in a world full of brokenness, power imbalances, and violence. And these patterns are gendered. To offer a few disturbing statistics about dating and relational violence, first, according to sociologists Marianne Schwartz and Barbara Scott, violence is particularly rampant in the dating years of age 16 to 25. In 2010, approximately 1/4 of dating relationships included non-sexual violence, 1/4. 40% of domestic violence is between non-married couples, and 85% of victim survivors are women. 20% of women in college experience non-sexual violence. Less than a week ago, the New York Times published a story tracking the rise of, quote, rough sex among college students, particularly strangulation. Nearly 2/3 of women in a representative survey at a major Midwestern university said that a partner had choked them recently during sex. Most of these said their partners didn't or only sometimes asked before grabbing their necks. And finally, in 2021, according to the CDC, almost 15% of all teen girls said they were forced to have sex, an increase of 27% over the prior 2 years. So in light of these really violent realities, we must not turn away from them, and including the implication that these realities have for evaluating consent alone as an adequate way to understand dating and relational practices. Repeated calls for consent are clearly not doing enough work. While consent is an essential moral beginning, I don't believe that it should be the moral ending point. In a world where women, people of color, and those who identify as queer are socially disempowered in real ways, what often passes for assumed to be consensual is distinctly distorted by power imbalances. This is especially true as our society becomes increasingly hypersexualized, where it's more or less assumed that a person needs to have a compelling reason not to say yes to whatever is asked of them, sexually speaking. While the sexualization of society can open up new and empowering vistas that were previously considered taboo, a good thing, it also means that many people can have trouble distinguishing what they genuinely want in a relationship, what allows them to flourish on a deep level, what they're told by media and advertising that they should want. So we here at SCU teach, study, and reflect in a Jesuit Catholic setting. So how should we do this with respect to dating and sex and relationships? This is part of what this panel is about today, part of hopefully why you're here. So to wrap up this introduction and make way for the panel, let me just say this. Each of us here has a particular perspective about what dating and relational practices and norms should look like. We didn't plan together what we would say, so what you're likely to hear is 3 different such perspectives, coming from 3 different academic fields. But I've been at Santa Clara for a long time, for many years, and I can say with confidence the following. We all here today desire to see a campus where everyone feels invited to flourish, relationally speaking. That is, where people's well-being isn't left up to chance or the whims of culture or media or fashion, but instead where human well-being, the well-being of whole persons, is taken dead seriously as a measure of educational success. So I invite all of us here today to converse with each other with that end goal in mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I really appreciate your insight on this topic, and thank you so much. All right, we are now going to begin our panel discussion. Our first question will be for each of the panelists to answer individually. We want to start with a more general question, starting from this perspective of more than consent. Professors from each of your academic disciplines, what is one misconception that you've noticed that students have about romantic relationships? We can start with Dr. Brown.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Is this on? Hello? Okay. I'm just going to lean in closely. So I'm in the field of communication, but my background is actually in sociology. And so what brought me to be interested in young people's experiences about dating was realizing how much had shifted. So statistically, since about 2010, the majority of couples that end up married met first online, whether that's a dating app, social media, or some other type of technology. So it's been a long time that the internet has been kind of the primary connector for how people meet. So that being said, one misconception that I think a lot of young people have about relationships is that the internet does not play a huge role and ending up in a relationship, especially for college students. From a sociological standpoint, a lot of them come from two-parent households, and so they hear the story of how their parents ended up, and a lot of that story has to do with face-to-face interaction that just isn't the way that we kind of form relationships now. So having to kind of dispel for them that they're not going to have the same type of start to their relationships that their parents or their caregivers had, I think is kind of the key starting place that I have for a lot of them.
Thank you so much. Dr. Sullivan?
Yeah, so many choices. But given the panel that we're on today, I think I'd just like to highlight some findings that regarding hooking up. So in hookup cultures, which has been prevalent on campuses for a long time now, there is a gendered element to it, whereby women are far more likely to hook up with the hope of beginning an intimate relationship, and men much less so. And the truth is that the vast majority of those hookups do not lead to a long-term intimate relationship. So I think keeping that in mind could be helpful. Adjacent to that, we also know that cohabiting does not, many students and young people feel, well, we'll just cohabit to see if we're compatible. And if we're not, then we just won't get married. And the statistics are very clear that cohabitation does not improve outcome for intimate relationships. That being said, something like 80% of all married couples did cohabit before getting married. So,
Very interesting.
start us off that way.
Yeah. Whoops. Is this on? Okay. Oh, I can't hear myself at all. Okay. I guess I think maybe one of the bigger misconceptions I encounter is the idea that, like, if you just meet your quote-unquote soulmate, that it's all just going to fall into place, right? And I mean, that just, from my mind, that just could not be further from the truth. Like, relationships take work. They're often hard. They often don't work. And that's okay. Actually, maybe that's the corollary I'll say, is that, like, the idea that, like, wow, it's just not worth it to get into a relationship unless I think this is heading towards marriage. Like, it's, it's like, I mean, this is one of the ways we get to know each other and know ourselves. And so it feels to me like maybe taking it down a few notches would be a really helpful corrective to that tendency. I actually would be interested in hearing, especially for new listeners, you know more about this, like how sometimes I went through with a single friend of mine on Hinge, like she was going through, swiping through, and I went through everything that she had ticked on Hinge, and it was like, wow, you're looking for something really specific, I mean, and that was kind of a new insight for me.
Yeah. So you actually reminded me of there is this new app called the Standards Calculator, and so what you can do is put in like the demographics for what you want in a partner. You can put in their height, you can put in whether or not they're college educated or whatever. So even though I'm already a married woman, I was like, let me see what happens. And so I found out that apparently 0.2% of men meet my standards. And so to your point, right, like we do carry these really unrealistic views of like who our partner is going to be and how they're going to have certain types of features. And the internet really does exacerbate this. So another thing that I also address for my students is that in addition to internet being key in forming relationships, it's also our primary source of information about relationships. So again, thinking about like the dichotomy between their parents or caregivers and themselves, because most historically the way that you would arrive, as Dr. Peterson-Iyer mentioned, was that you would have been kind of courting, so your parents would have been very key in helping you find a partner. That is no longer the case. The internet is the way that you find a partner. And because of the capitalist nature of the internet, there are people trying to profit off of that. So there are relationship gurus and dating coaches. And so there is a really strong connection between these gurus and some of the types of practices that people do on online dating platforms. So when we think about who someone's searching for, they're not necessarily actually searching for who they actually want as much as who society via the internet tells them that they want. So yeah.
Yeah, I love what you both said, and I
Yeah.
just want to piggyback on that
Yeah.
just with one thing. So another problem with internet dating and meeting people using the internet is that what we think we want doesn't turn out to be what we want. Okay? And so some classic studies in the field of psych used a speed dating paradigm. And they would have everybody fill out exactly what they would want in a partner. And then at the end, they report who they would like to go on a date with. No correlation.
Wow.
None. And that's because relationships are dyadic in nature,
Yes.
right? You can't tell that this is the right person. You need to interact with a lot of different people and see what that interaction feels like and means. So I think that's another really big thing.
Yes, definitely.
And the other really big thing is that all of us, even women, will cite physical attraction as kind of the number one reason why they'd want to enter into a relationship.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is all the same people are reaching out to 10% of the people who are on any given dating app.
Yeah.
So what's happening is people are missing opportunities to have really fulfilling, intimate relationships with each other
Yeah.
because of the way it's set up.
Yeah, and this is very gendered too, because one of the
Yeah.
studies that I teach my students is that men in particular are the ones who are more likely to practice this very narrow experience. And so being a woman on a dating app is very overwhelming because you're being flooded with messages, whereas young men are getting the sense that, like, oh, people aren't really responding to me as frequently. And so that unfortunately leads to pessimism on both sides, right? Because for the women, it's this idea of, like, I'm not finding who I'm looking for, I'm overwhelmed by these choices, whereas these young men are like, I'm trying to choose everybody, and nobody's choosing me back. And so I really like what you brought up about that speed dating paradigm, because I think it really encourages us to be kind of critical about how these technologies lead us to engage in behaviors that aren't necessarily normative to how relationships are actually formed in a healthy way. Yeah.
That's so interesting. Thank you so much for bringing up all those great topics. Last night, the campus ethics team hosted a speed dating event where we brought together lots of different people, and it was really interesting to watch them all converse and hopefully see a little bit of a spark there. But for my next question, thinking about dating apps, thinking about like these statistics about like what actually heads a couple towards marriage, kind of on the other end of it, how should people that are not looking for a serious relationship kind of navigate that in a conscientious and perhaps ethical way? Go ahead. Well, each of you can answer. We'll start with Dr. Sullivan.
I was actually going to defer to these.
Oh,
two.
go ahead.
I don't study or write about ethics in relationships. I just study relationships. So for the ethical questions, I'll look to you two.
Okay. So this is interesting because, again, I teach a class called Dating in the Digital Age, and the reason why I designed this class was because it was during the pandemic, and I joined TikTok. And so by joining TikTok, it was the first thing I learned anything about Gen Z. Like, the closest 20-something in my life is actually a 28-year-old, my little sister. So she's technically older millennial. And so as I'm watching Gen Z, I'm like, these young people are crazy. It's because they just have like these very strong ideas about dating and relationships. And I'm like, you're literally 18 or 19. Where is this coming from? So I was like, let me design this class to, one, kind of debunk stuff, but also to get insights from this generation. And so what is really interesting about that particular age group, and when we bring college into it, is there's this really kind of disjuncture between the expectations that have been placed on you, society or your family, and then what actually college allows you to do. And so I think, especially, for example, in a Jesuit or Catholic institution, it's really hard to navigate your personal desires with the expectations and how your personal desires can violate those expectations. So I think in terms of practicing ethics, I think what really kind of is difficult for people who aren't necessarily rushing to relationships is feeling marginalized by not falling into that expectation. And so it makes it difficult to actually express that desire. And even though we have a society where we've encouraged it, to be easier for, say, a young man to have that communication. If, say, a young woman was to try to communicate that desire, there's slut shaming or other sorts of things that she might endure if she's more open about not necessarily wanting to go into marriage easily. So I think what has to happen is actually at a societal level, where first, for example, starting in the family, we have to have a robust education, sexual education, not even just for young people, but for their parents, and kind of really challenge the expectations around teenagers and young adults and sexuality. And then two, I think our campuses also have to become spaces where we encourage that. Like whether we intentionally do it or not, we definitely kind of hold to this monogamous heteronormative model of what we want relationships to be. So I think if we kind of communicate that there are alternatives, as we are communicating, a norm of marriage, then I think people can realize there's more choice and agency and make more informed decisions about how they date. Because if you're initially taught you're supposed to get married, even if you're personally realizing that that might not be for you, there aren't really resources readily available to teach you how to make healthier choices if you're not going to go that route.
I love that. And I guess one thing I would kind of riff off of is, I think of dating, including dating apps, as not an opportunity to meet your soulmate. I definitely am not down for that. But as a chance to kind of get to know yourself better, to understand your values, and also a chance to, functionalize setting your boundaries. This is how we learn, is by doing. And I think using dating apps or just dating as the opportunity to say, wow, I really am interested in this, and I don't want to do that, or let's go do this. It's not a marriage. It's precursor. So
Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. That's very interesting to think about, learning to know yourself as a way of dating, and kind of the education that goes as a part of that. Next, I want to ask Dr. Sullivan a specific question. Thinking about TikTok and what you said, these words like attachment styles have become such buzzwords that almost don't mean anything anymore. But I know that you have specific study on that. So I was wondering, how do you think that attachment styles and jealousy can manifest in college students, and how can we accurately identify and navigate these feelings?
All right, so yes, attachment style. So attachment style is one of the really compelling theories in the study of relationships, because it's really the only theory that can predict outcomes in adult relationships from what happened to you when you were very, very young. So it's a very robust model. There have been, I'm sure, tens of thousands of studies on attachment style and relationships. But just put very simply, when we're very young, below the age of 2, we experience the world in a number of different ways, and that will make us come up in our heads with working models, is the attachment style words that's used, about the self and about other people that are going to drive our behaviors in our adult intimate relationships. And they are fairly stable over time. They can change, but they tend to remain the same. So if you're very young and your caretaker is not responsive to your needs in an adequate fashion, you may develop the idea that I'm not worthy of love, or people are not to be trusted, right? That's working model self, working model other. Based on those two dimensions, then, people think about 4 specific attachment styles. Now, if you've learned about attachment styles in any of your classes, you might have heard about 3 attachment styles. That's kind of old news. So you can have a secure attachment style, where you feel like you're worthy of love and that others can be trusted. Or you can have an avoidant attachment style, where you might think, oh yeah, I'm great, people would love me, but are a little bit shy of being too intimate with their partners, right? And then there's a preoccupied style, which focuses on fear of the other person leaving you. So fear of abandonment, basically. And then the fourth one is known as dismissive, which kind of goes hand in hand with the fearful one, but in this case, there's no fear about relationship outcomes, but I just don't really feel like I need to be super close to my partners. And so if you're partnered up with someone who is really worried about their partner leaving them, that can get a little messy, right? A little dicey. So there, I
Big
could
question.
go on. Weeks and weeks. I guess a couple of things I'll say to kind of, I think attachment style has been co-opted and people have misconceptions about it. One that I'll focus on in particular in debunking is it's not categorical. Okay, you're not one style or the other or the other or the other. It's dimensional, right? And it's based on where you are in terms of your fear of being abandoned and how close you want to get to other people. Okay. So, and then the other one I want to debunk is, yes, it is the case that these working models are fairly stable over time. However, they can be changed, and the main arena in which they are changed is in subsequent relationships. Okay? So you might be really preoccupied and afraid of being abandoned, but you get into a relationship with a really reassuring, stable, secure individual, and those working models might change. That's the good news. The bad news is, of course, if you have a secure attachment style and then you have a really bad experience in a relationship where you are abandoned or cheated on or something like that, that might alter your working models to a less secure attachment style. The relationship between attachment style and jealousy, again, I teach a 10-week course on all of it. I'd say the main thing is that people who are preoccupied, have a more preoccupied attachment style, are also more likely to fear losing another person and therefore more easily sort of jumps into feeling jealous. And of course, the online environment gives us so many opportunities, right, to misinterpret or, find different ways to feel like, oh no. So I actually have a paper under review right now it's a psychometric paper where we've constructed a jealousy scale that's specific to online interactions. So I plan to be using that in the future for future studies. But I'll shut up because we don't have forever.
Thank you so much for that excellent explanation. I feel like that was very good to clarify what those kinds of words actually mean in practice. I want to switch topics just a slight bit, and I'm wondering, how should the Jesuit university system respond to the topic of college sexual experience? And then secondary question, do you believe that the Jesuit values strengthen or limit universities in this regard, or both? We can start with Dr. Peterson-Iyer.
I have things to say. A place like Santa Clara as a Jesuit Catholic institution has sort of two aspects of that piece, sort of the Catholic piece and the Jesuit piece. And they're not always well aligned, I think, or not perfectly aligned anyway. I think our Jesuit identity has quite a lot to say and offers us a lot of possibility that is not out there. In fact, one of the things I like to say I know I have some current students here, and current and former students from my sexual ethics class, is that at Santa Clara, we're so good about caring about things. We're told we're supposed to care. We're supposed to, care and compassion is so central to our identity. And then you come into contact with kind of the norms of hookup culture, where you're not supposed to care. And it's so kind of jarring that juxtaposition. And so I actually think we're doing a better job at this than we used to as an institution, that bringing in sort of norms of care and respect, care for the whole person, caring about people as whole people and as people who flourish on sort of holistic levels, that's something that we can talk about as in our Jesuit identity. And it actually has a lot of purchase and a lot of meaning in the kind of sexual and relational sphere, to be cared for, not in a kind of a Disney romantic way, but like in a full-hearted way, in a way that, and I guess I would maybe not juxtapose, I would add on, Jesuits care about justice. We care about including sexual justice, right? So that's not antithetical to our identity as, in fact, that's to me, very embedded in our identity of who we are as an institution, or it should be. So, questions around not just sexual violence, although definitely inclusive of sexual violence, but like, what are relationships like? Are they honoring whole people? Are they mutual? Are they egalitarian and respectful? Those things are so much a part of our Jesuit DNA. And honestly, I don't think they're a part of the broader culture's DNA, not at this point. So I think that gives us a lot of tools. That's my optimistic self. My pessimistic self is that we are somehow and often fighting against kind of religious stereotypes that people have grown up with that can be unhelpful. And some of those stereotypes still exist, right up to the present. Some of them maybe were present 20 years ago when they were going through their attachment style, and so they still impact us. But so I think both can be true, but mostly I'm optimistic there.
Thank you. It's wonderful to hear. Do you have any other thoughts on the same question?
So for me, I was raised Southern Baptist, and so in comparison to the Jesuit and Catholic space, I think that there is room for optimism here when it comes to like other religious spaces. And so I think for me, one of the things that I recognize as, and it probably applies to Christians broadly, is the way that sexuality can be a space for triggering religious shame and guilt, and the ways that these institutions kind of play into that dynamic. So for example, in the Southern Baptist Church, not sure how she's framed in Catholicism, but Mary Magdalene is like basically seen as like the whore. And so because she's framed in this way, telling her story is one, to warn women against engaging in particular practices, but also this idea of you can only be saved through the practice of celibacy, and honestly using Jesus as like a pseudo husband figure until your real life husband comes in. And so I think that part of what can be done is really reckoning with the way that we have historically used religion to shame and guilt, again, young people in particular, into a very narrow and specific way that they're going to express their sexuality. And then what can be done is kind of reframing of narratives. So for example, the story of Ruth and Boaz, again, when I learned it through the Southern Baptist space, kind of this, the sexual elements of the story were completely eliminated, but more contemporary feminist theologians talk about how implied in the story is Ruth kind of using her sexuality to get a new husband, of course through love, but also to protect her family and her mother-in-law Naomi. So with this ideas of the very same stories that we've kind of been raised on, we can find new meaning. So another new framing of the stories that I've heard is looking at Jesus's lineage, and pretty much every woman in his lineage was at some point slut-shamed in the Bible, or every single woman who was named in his lineage was at some point slut-shamed in the Bible. Like even Mary, when she told Joseph that she was pregnant, originally he was like, whoa, you did something bad. And so it wasn't until, was it the angel Gabriel, that came and kind of reframed the story. So that being said, we don't have to dispense with like these religious narratives, but we can actually kind of reread them and reframe them and think about the positive aspects of it. And I think an institution like this, which doesn't necessarily have the role of, again, like a Southern evangelical space of like using religion to do harm in that way, can kind of really tell young people, like, you know, whatever, regardless of your religious background is, when we think about the narratives of sexuality, we can tell a different story to empower as opposed to kind of shame and guilt people about their sexuality. Yeah.
And gender identity.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, because all my examples were women, but yes.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said what you said.
Yeah.
And I do think the kind of tropes around sexual purity, they take a slightly different form in, from Protestantism to Catholicism, but they're certainly present in both.
Yeah.
And really harmful,
Mm-hmm.
really, really harmful.
Absolutely.
So I think kind of challenging those and inviting people to tell their stories and their experiences.
I agree.
Thank you so much. And I believe that each of the classes that you take in the academic settings that the students get to be in really are a step forward. So now I'd like to open it up to audience questions. If you haven't had a chance to, please submit questions to the QR code. And my fellow ethics fellow on the campus ethics team, Kendall, is going to read our audience questions for us.
Thank you. Huh? Should have started with Hello, everyone. I'm Kendall, as Blaise already said. So we have 2 questions right now, but I'll start with the first one. It's for Dr. Brown. How does the lack of face-to-face interaction within how couples meet today result in how early communication occurs in today's young dating pool?
So I think one of the key things, well, there's multiple key things that come to mind for me, especially when it comes to sexuality. So one huge difference that the internet has introduced is that for young people, the first time they see the naked body is actually mediated through internet, particularly pornography, whereas like historically your first encounter with a naked body would have been in the sexual encounter, and that would have followed some type of date or some type of interaction face to face. So I think that the co-presence of pornography online with the technologies that people are using to meet each other really blurs the boundaries. And so there can be like a pornographication of someone you've never met before. So for example, going back to this idea of like what you think that you like, you might have this misperception that you like something because you saw it on pornography. I think that's what contributes to this rise in strangulation actually playing out in relationships, right? People who are in porn are being paid to participate in these particular actions. They are literally performing. Those types of actions cannot translate to real world encounters because that is violence. And so this idea of using the internet to, one, be exposed to sexuality through media, and also be a kind of trying to connect with people, I think really leads to a misperception about what types of steps need to happen before you actually engage in a sexual act. So one of the key things my students kind of have clued me into is how little conversation actually transpires before certain types of things happen. And this goes back to the hookup culture. So for example, I can't remember the statistic, but a large percentage of sexual encounters, both parties are intoxicated before they actually engage in the act. And so because of that intoxication, there is not a clear-headedness that goes into having certain types of standards or expectations about what you're going to engage in. And then after that, because of the nature of a hookup, a lot of times people do not communicate again despite having shared a deeply intimate moment. And things can happen such as you text the next morning after a hookup, that person doesn't respond, you've been ghosted. And so even though you can physically see them walking around campus because of the norms that these technologies introduce, it feels uncomfortable to say, hey, why did you stop talking to me? Because they ignored your text message. So I think that young people have to, one, really unpack the ways that consuming information through technology and devices when it comes to sexuality is kind of leading them to lack care for one another and the human in each other. And face-to-face communication is really key. And so I think a practice to engage in is not to say necessarily divest completely from hookup culture, but if someone texts you, don't ghost them, right? Give them an explanation as to why you're no longer interested. If you see somebody, don't ignore each other. Like if you've crossed those boundaries with each other, you have shared a really strong human connection. So continue to honor the humanity in one another. It can be a high and by, like we've been stressing. Not every encounter has to lead to marriage, but it also doesn't have to lead to disposing and dismissing that other person either. So yeah.
Thank you so much. For our next question, this is for Dr. Peterson-Iyer. Why is there more sexual violence than before in an era of expanded enthusiastic consent?
Yes.
Will this gap only grow?
Such a great question. I'm terrible with statistics. And so I do know enough to know that saying that there's more sexual violence may be that there's more that we know about or that has come to light. That said, I will say this, and you just alluded to it, like porn culture has gone through the roof with the internet. I mean, it's a massive cultural shift. And, you know, where it used to be there was slight amount of, you know, sort of self-shaming, I guess, shaming in the not so bad shaming, I don't know, that people, you know, self-regulation that people went through. Now it's like anybody can get to this, and in fact, it is the way that sex ed happens for most people.
Right.
And I'm not talking about like ethical porn. I'm not talking about good porn. I'm talking about free porn.
Yeah.
And it's the worst porn.
Yes.
I mean, it's bad and it's everywhere. So, you know, to me, a lot of it's violent. I think that we need to look at that and say, like you said, this is not real.
Right.
And in fact, it doesn't just hurt the person who is being, you know, violated. It actually makes it really hard to have good relationships and good sexual relationships. So, because real people, it turns out, aren't like the people being paid on, you know, online. So, so I do think that is a big part of it. I mean, I could speculate about other things too, but I mean, I think that violence has been there forever. You know, and maybe it's just more kind of visible now today, which makes it easier to say, hey, consent actually matters. But I also think that what gets under our skin can be at least as powerful as our rational decision to seek consent. And so I think we need to query not just, are people empowered to say no or yes, but also what's motivating people to want to think that like it's okay to choke somebody as a, you know, to get off without even asking them or whatever. You know, I mean, that's just incredible to me. That was such a depressing article to read.
Yeah.
So, you know, so to query kind of the cultural soup that we swim in, I guess is what I would say.
Yes, definitely heavy topics, but thank you. We have our last audience question. Each of you can give a short answer to this one. The question is, how can we ensure healthy relationships without jumping straight to marriage? So maybe just some suggestions, kind of end on a forward-looking note.
Jumping straight to marriage does not ensure a healthy relationship.
Without.
Yes.
Without.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah. Very true.
Well, I just think that relationships are a way that we, like I said this before, but that we learn about ourselves, that we grow. And I would love if we could just take it down a couple of notches. And like, you know, I mean, I have this one, it's an optional assignment now, but an assignment where you like ask somebody out on a date that you think is, you know, like you'd like to get to know that person. And I've never had an assignment that elicited more fear in students. I mean, it's like, oh my God, I can't ask them! You know, like unless I know ahead of time that they're going to say yes.
Right.
And I totally get that. And like, I want to ask people, like, if they say no, like, what's going to happen to you? I'm not a psychologist, but I feel like, wow, you're not going to dissolve. You know, I mean, I think just kind of knowing that, like, we're sturdier than we think, and it's okay to experiment and try things, and that's how we learn who we are. So that would be my thought.
I mean, I think you said it.
Yeah.
So I would just underscore that. It's been really interesting. I've been here for 26 years and watching the change in the undergraduate population over time. There's been some awesome things like openness to different gender identities and different sexual orientations that make my heart glad when I go to bed at night because of Gen Z. I also have 2 children who are Gen Zs, exactly your age right now, so I get it from both sides,
Oh yeah.
which is great. But the thing that's been, the one that's been most puzzling, and I was wondering if it might be harmful, is this move away from dating. It's like, you know, it's like when you're a kid and you're trying to figure stuff out, you play, right? That's how you figure stuff out, you play. And so it's like, why aren't we doing that anymore? Because it seems like it would be a really good idea. But I'm a psychologist, but I am not an anthropologist or sociologist, so I'm not really sure how to change a culture, but those are just some of my observations.
And so I do definitely agree this idea of there should be a cultural shift happening, and I think one of those cultural shifts should be about friendship. I think in our culture, especially from childhood, the ways that we, I can't quite pinpoint the age, but there's a way that we start to gender people, and then we begin to gender friendships. So for example, with the Barbie movie that just came out, there are women across various age groups that kind of showed up, dressed in pink with their Barbie girls with one another, but very few Kens present. And part of that is because we socialize young people to find friendship in contexts that are also gendered. So we want boys to go play sports, and of course sports teams are gendered. We want young women to kind of participate in arts or culture, and that too is really type of gendered. So I think that if we teach that friendship occurs across genders and spectrums, and that friendship looks healthy in relationships, even if they become sexual. I think something about our society believes that once you have had a sexual encounter with a person, they are no longer friends. But it's like even with married couples, married partners are friends with one another. So I think that if we really encourage treating people like a friend, like there are ways where, so for example, it's like if your friend asks you, if you hung out with your friend on Friday night, and they text you on Sunday morning, you're probably not going to ghost your friend, even if they got on your nerves, right? But for some reason, we feel like, oh, I didn't like that person that I went out with, so I'm just going to completely ignore them. Like, that's not friendly behavior. So continuing to exhibit friendliness towards people, regardless of the sexualized encounter or romantic undertones of, again, just what it is, it's just a dyad. So I think that if we practice some of the healthy ways we do other dyads with romantic encounters, I think we can kind of see certain types of change in that regard.
It seems like also like part of what you're saying is, like if you maybe had an experience with somebody, like you hooked up with somebody last night, and you see that person, like it, just being like, or even if somebody asks you out or says no to you, or you go out on a date and it doesn't work out,
right?
Like it's okay to say like, wow, that was really nice. Thank you so much. I don't think I want to continue anything, but thank you.
Yeah.
Like just that sort of basic human
exactly
reconnection
yeah.
in the form that we do with our friends.
Right.
That feels really.
I agree. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful advice. I've loved hearing about the themes of like looking for human flourishing and learning about yourself through relationships. And finally, ending on the note of friendship, I think is a wonderful way to end this panel. Please join me in thanking all of our panelists once again.